Well, hello everybody, and welcome. Well, welcome back to this edition of Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And we've been kind of on and off, and went off and suspended for a while. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why. And so to clear it up with some people, especially my co-host. Well, I have my guest co-host here, and you've seen him on here many times, and yeah, who he is, my classmate from high school, my neighbor from the neighborhood. We've been knowing each other for a long time, and is Lewis Bracy, and he lives in Maryland. He's very active, and you've probably seen his videos out there where he confronts what he thinks is not right, or he just tries to get the message out. And if you're a part of his email list, you're going to be flooded with emails letting you know what's going on. And I think it's good to know what's going on. And he's right out there, boots on the ground. So that's where you get the information. So I always appreciate the information that comes from him. And a lot of times, sometimes people, and as we try to come back and reboot Portsmouth Coffee Talk, one of the reasons I wanted to step away, and I never said ended, I always say suspended for a while, is because I had a few things that I wanted to sort of launch or get started. And one of them, Bracy knows, is with our classmate, which is a platform we have called Our Take on It. And it's Shona Choke, Swinson, and myself. And we just come up there and do some things. Very seldom we get into politics. But we bring people on there and talk about some health issues they might have gone through, or some things that they are doing, or a business they might. And sometimes we'll bring on classmates and just have a good time. And that's why I wanted to take time to sort of get that going. And then I wanted to have the Slim Nation one-on-ones. But, after a while, I said, well, I was missing Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and I still had people might see me out. And I still wear my hat, and might see me out and say, I enjoyed Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And, sometimes you think people, not paying attention, but they are. And I said, well, I kind of miss that too. And maybe I can incorporate some of the things I'm doing on the other channel, except for the Our Take on It featuring Slim and Shona. That's a separate platform. But everything else I can bring in under the Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And I definitely want to bring back the politics of it. And Lewis has been a big part of the politics we've going on. And, I think the last time he was on, we brought on a trumper. We brought on a trumper, and, thought that we might be able to have a conversation, but, the guy got me kind of hot too, but I understand Lewis's passion, and I can understand why Lewis couldn't sit there and listen to a brother supporting Trump, and I definitely agree. It's just my approach is different from Lewis's, and I think the approach, Lewis, that you give is needed here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. It's just that particular show got kind of out of hand, because then it was you and him going at each other. And, that wasn't my intent for that particular show. I think probably on another show or something, it could have been a debate, a form of debate. But that particular show, and that was probably, I didn't foresee that. I should have known, the guy, Madison Downs was his name, and I know he's been a Trumper for a long time. He ran against Bobby Scott, and I got some flack after that from one of his friends who is a Trumper. Talked for me about a long time about that he thought Lewis should apologize, and I didn't bring that up to you, Lewis, because I didn't agree that you should apologize no more than he should have, because he came back with some words as well. But I didn't think you should apologize for your passion. The only thing, some of the words that were used, which the only reason I took offense to it, or I had to stop it, didn't take offense to it, had to stop it because of some of the community things that Facebook puts on us if we have a platform. And a lot of people don't know it if they're a guest until after the show. And I'll get these notices from not Facebook, but YouTube. You say you might have violated community, some of the community actions standards that they have. And it's kind of strange to me because I see other people using the same terms and same words, but it all depends on, I think, how big your platform is. But I've seen bigger platforms being chastised by YouTube for, and I think YouTube picks and chooses who they're going to mess with, and they will take you off how unfair it might be, because you're doing nothing as a smaller platform, no more than anybody else.
That's
and
true.
Just want to get the word out. But I think when we come back this time with the Portsmouth Coffee Talk, it's going to be a lot more leadway, and they're probably just going to have to tell me, that they'll give you opportunities to tell me, okay, we can't have that, and then we have to adjust it accordingly. But when you bring on guests and you're live, you just have to go with what comes out, the passion and everything, and that's what makes the show special, I think. But it was just that particular, but that wasn't the only reason, Lewis, and I said this before, that I suspended. It's just the timing was right after that show, but I was already planning to do something like that, so to step back from it, and because I was putting a lot of things on myself, trying to manage all these things, and until we can get to a point where we can have an actual producer, and that's his job to do these things, to watch all these different screens. That's why you see me. Don't necessarily need these, when you're doing it, but when you're doing all these other things and controlling, I need these to keep up with what's going on another screen. But one day when we can have a producer, maybe we can do it with interns, until we can be at a point where we can pay somebody to do it. Mm-hmm. And they can be responsible for doing that. And I won't have to be worrying about all this technical stuff, and they can tell me. But anyway, after a while, I always knew that I was going to bring it back. It was just a matter of when. And I think I texted you one time and told you I was going to bring it back. And when I did, I was going to bring you back on the show, on the original show, not the original reboot, and talking to people about bringing it back. And that's what I did. And that's why I wanted you to come on here with me. And we can talk about, some of the hot topics of the day, but I wanted to sort of reintroduce this. And plus I wanted to also give homage to, I'll never forget, they'll always be a part of this, the original crew that we had on here, the Colonel Thomas, the Colonel Chapman, and Leah Drake Stiff. And it had gotten to the point where their schedules were, they were doing things that it was early in the morning for them, and they were doing things that were, took them away from it. And so, that's when I first decided to suspend it, so we could figure out what we wanted to do. But they're going to always be a part of this. They're going to always, come back as hosts, mm-hmm. And contribute whenever they want to. And, I just want to, all the things we did, and our videos from about over 5 years are still on our channel, and a lot of them are still relevant, especially some of the videos we did on colorism. And I really, if you get a chance to go back and look at that, because I'm not talking about colorism between black and white. I'm talking about colorisms that we dealt with in our own communities, mm-hmm. And I had, Sherry Brown, one of our classmates too, who was very light in complexion. Yeah. And she talked about some of the issues she had just because of the complexion of her skin. And this was in our own community. So that was a really good show. And that's still out there. By the way? She's doing great. And she comes on and she'll be ready to come on this platform as well. She loves to talk and she keeps up with the issues. And we bring her on periodically on the our take on it, because I always gonna involve my classmates, especially on that show. But that's one of our main things. We base it on that graduating class. So, even if we're talking about something else, I'll ask a classmate to come up there. I think you have been on there, just to come up there and just contribute to what we're doing over there. But over here, it's going to be politics and a little bit of everything, because I'm going to include a thing I have called City Talk with Slim. And this is where I actually have a one-on-one with Portsmouth people, especially now that some of them are running for office. And I have a incumbent scheduled next week to come on who's running for a seat again. So I'm moving all that to Portsmouth Coffee Talk rather than have it separately on the Slim Nation. But, so I think that's all a part. So it's going to be a lot of different things, but the main thing we're going to continue with keeping up with, the daily political game that's being played out there. And it's getting crazier and crazier by the day. And I was telling somebody else, and I'm going to let you talk in a little bit, Lewis. I was telling somebody the other day, it's almost hard to believe it's just been 18 or 19 months since this fool has been in office. And you might hear me say some things that you might think is out of character for me, but it's not out of character. You just never heard me say it on the air. You might not hear me say coon or some other words like that, but you might hear some fools come out, stupid, and things that you wouldn't normally see me come out of my face with. But, I'm going to let myself loose a little bit after I start observing some other people and how they handle their independent media thing. But you still have to sort of be cautious about what YouTube might allow, but like I said, I'll let them tell me after.
Well, let me say something about that real quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That is, there's certain people in my life that I have met, and I always told them that, you can't be like me. You can't talk like me. You can't have my cut card. And you were even all the way back in high school, and we had our fraternity. The reason why I say that, because we always need a voice of reason. And I have always looked at you as a voice of reason, as a middle ground person, the person who was able to see both sides and calm down. And because you've calmed us down a number of times, you know that yourself when we were having some of them volatile meetings. And my sister has basically like your personality, in that she's able to calm things down. She's able to look at things on the left and look at things on the right and bring it right back to the middle. And so when I meet people like that, I always say, look, I like you because of that is your skill. And you have always had that skill. And that's why I felt so bad about that show that day afterwards, because as I've said offline, I think it'd be okay to say here, is that I'm always concerned about people's health. And I have a good friend of mine who, she asked me, she said, Bracy, I just want you to do one thing for me while I'm going through my cancer situation. And she said, don't use the word hate anymore. Mm-hmm. And I said, I can't use the word hate. She said, no. She said, it'll make me feel better. And she was going through a cancer situation. And I said, you got it. I did not use the word hate. I did not write the word hate. I have not spoken the word hate until I was able to get it back from her. I got it back from her recently. I said, girl, you got to have to release me from my promise. The people who know me know if I give my word, I keep my word. I don't go back on my word. But I kept my word to her for 3 years. For 3 years, I never used the word. And as much, you go back on all the tapes of this show, you'll never hear me say, I hate Donald Trump. You never hear me say that. You hear me say, I dislike him. I despise him. He's despicable. But I was restricted for 3 years from using the word hate. But it got so bad, I said, girl, you're gonna have to release me from my promise because I can't use no more of the word. But the point is that people, we need people like you to stay balanced. We need people like you to be a good umpire because I need to be put in check.
I think we all do at certain times, Lewis, because, and I learned too, you need somebody that's going to have that middle ground sometime, but also more important, you need those people that are going to speak up and speak their mind. Some things need to be said. And sometimes the people like me that try to take the middle ground, need people like you to say it, because sometimes I might want to say it, and sometimes if I say it doesn't have the same effect because people expect a different kind of attitude or different kind of a different kind of way of saying things coming out of me, and it's not going to have the same effect. And I learned that with my cousin Thomas the Colonel Chapman when he was on for all those years. I could depend on him to say, well, he's going to he's going to ask those questions that I might not ask, because they kind of looking for it from him, or if they're not looking for it from him, that's some of those questions that people watching might want to ask, and you got to have those people that's bold enough to do that. And that's why I think it's a balance sometimes having that, but you always still need that person in a situation that might say, okay, well, all right, let's bring it back in, because everybody can get passionate. I've been on here and having a back and forth with my own cousin, and people said, was that James? But we have a trigger too. Even the calm guys or people that considered calm, we have a trigger too. And you know how they used to say, watch out for those quiet guys, because when you push them to a certain point, something's going to come out that you're not going to expect,
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes I have to keep a lid on it, because some people will come on and just like I might want, people from the other side to come on, but it bothered me just like it bothered you. And I wanted to hear the other guy's side, but once he started talking and some of the things he said, I also couldn't believe that a brother, and he's still, as far as I know, is defending some of that stuff. I think I've seen him go against something Trump did one time. But anyway, he's still on that side. And then having, I can't even think the guy's name. I'll probably hear from him again. He has a show, and I went on and checked out his platform and found out I didn't agree with none of the stuff he was saying. Now, when he talked to me, he did most of the talking, and he made some good points. But when I went and watched his show, I couldn't take it any further. So I hadn't talked to him since then. And I hope, he kind of got the message on there. But like I said, he might see this and or see some shows in the future and come back. But that's his right. He can do whatever he wants to say, whatever he wants to say about what we do over here. And we can do the same. But anyway, we're going to continue to bring people on. And I really appreciated you bringing, when you came into the picture and started bringing the people from Maryland, and we had that sort of DMV connection, and some of the people like Carl Snowden. I remember one time he came up here and I did the little shorts, and it got almost 5,000 views. I got it sitting here to play, for us later on. But, a lot of those shorts, where you come out, if somebody doesn't watch the whole show, they'll watch those little snippets where people make. I think you had one where you had about 1,001 views on it, so it's something that going forward can be good. and we're gonna do some of the things. You can bring some of your people back on from Maryland, and we'll pick out. I have a cousin, John Gantz. He saw the advertisement today and said he was glad we were bringing it back because he used to be a guest and he lives in Texas, and we used to like to bring him on. One of the hardest things bringing him on was that morning because the time difference in Texas is different, and he would have to get up real early to be on that show. So I'm thinking about, even though we still call it Portsmouth Coffee Talk, we had kind of switched to that Monday evening, and I think that served guests better. And I've had some people say it's better for them in the morning, but what do you think about that?
I think overall, is the 7 o'clock time period is the best.
Yeah.
If you got to choose between 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening, a lot of people not like us, because I'm up. And, my wife is up.
Yeah.
By that time, and you say to yourself, military people, past old military people, they have a tendency to stick to certain things, even if you go back to sleep.
I had very little problem with military people coming on that time, and take it. We did it for over 5 years, and we started out like 6:30, and then I think when I was on the radio, that was like 6 o'clock, and then when COVID hit and we went to this format, we did it like 6:30 for a long time, and then and very few people turned us down. From Senator Louise Lucas to Don Scott. We had, that's what I'm saying. That's why another reason I wanted to bring it back. We had all these people on here that were familiar with Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and they had no problem being on there. We even had Lauren Burke on here, so she has her own thing going on, and she's been in the game for a long time.
She's been in the business a long time. You'll see her in the background a lot of the times in the Capitol when you see people walking through the tunnel. Because she has the pass to get through those areas. Right?
Because she's been out there. She's been on CNN and all those. So she has the credentials to be there, and she's focused on Virginia. She lives in Northern Virginia. Her mother lives here in Suffolk, so she even covers stories down here when she hears about it. She'll drive down here. So we appreciate her, and I still have that connection with her, to bring her on. Or she's invited us, Portsmouth Coffee Talk, to be on her show. So it's going to be some times where we'll be able to go on her show, and she has a much bigger audience. To help us out as far as getting some, a wider distribution of a wider audience. So we always have that because I'm a member of her program. I pay every month to be a part of it. So, I don't think it'll be. And she's put that out there for us to be on it. But when she put that out there, we were suspended.
Got to take advantage of it. Between August, because it's gonna start heating back up.
Yeah.
In mid-August, all of September, all of October. It'd be very great, nice if we can get on her show or she come on this show again, or if we can merge the two some kind of way, So I was telling you about my nephew in Atlanta. He's willing to do a merge show.
Yeah, I've been seeing him. So, the more exposure we can get like that, the better. And
so I was saying, like, for example, if we could pick a good date where, if, for example, we can have 2 or even 3 podcasts going at the same time. I know the technology exists. Now, I'm not a technical person, but I know how all that stuff works. I just don't know how to do it. But
I'm still learning too.
I know, but I know the people who know how to do it.
Yeah.
And if we can get an agreement one time, I would love to have Portsmouth Coffee Talk, my nephew's show down in Atlanta, Classic Conversation, and Lauren's show. I would love to get us on at one time and make it like a 2-hour format or something like that.
Yeah, and that's possible.
Everybody in from everywhere, comments, people be able to call in and things of that nature. Because my nephew, he has that ability. He told me we can hook up anything you want. You just let us know, we can do it. So he can do all that stuff for us if you want it. If we could pick a good date, I think that would be fantastic. Not only for each individual podcast, but it can go out there for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, I think we would help each other, because even though they might have a bigger audience, but they might not have the few people we have.
That's right.
And we can grow from that as well. So I think it's a good thing. I just wanted to make sure we restarted back up and got going. And I'll try to talk to Lauren over the weekend, and you keep that communication with your nephew, and we'll work it out. I just want to talk to Lauren and see how that would work with her, because I see her doing it. It's another Black network, and I think they're based out of New York, and I see them coming together every once in a while. They'll be on her show, and she'll be on their show.
She think I'm crazy, but I watch it. She think I'm crazy, but that's okay.
But that's okay. But I mean, it's the most, sometimes the most they say controversial people, but it's really the people really speaking the truth. And it's crazy how the truth is controversial, because so many people out there lying, man. It's just, and I got to say this. I was looking at John Lemon before we came on, and he had Cory Booker on there. And all I want these guys to do, they dodge around stuff. And what it was, every once in a while, John Lemon will have the people that support him financially. He'll do a show, and he have all, a bunch of the people, and it's the people talking. But before they came on, he had this interview with Cory Booker, and Cory Booker was Cory Booker, like he is, half answering questions and not committing to, certain things. And then when he went off and those people came on, they said they'll probably never vote for nobody they don't want anybody that's in office now, that's Democrat. Yeah. Because I'm spreading what this one lady said, because y'all sat back and let Trump do all this stuff. And we didn't even see the fight. I mean, it's good when you see the fight, and maybe the fight might be lost. But if you don't even see the fight,
don't even fight. And then I'm like, you know what? This is what I hate about Booker. I love him in some ways, because he has been in certain times very boldly outspoken, but he's like a bad version of Stephen A. Smith. He'll say something that we all agree about in one interview, in one conversation, and then he'll tom out in the next conversation, or be, because I would never call Cory Booker a Tom. I will call Stephen A. Smith a Tom. And I would never call that. I'd never say that about Cory Booker, but I will say that he's weak-kneed like a lot of Democrats. And on that show that you were talking about, he was sidestepping this and sidestepping that. I say, now you're the one who's up here questioning these other fools on TV, and when they sidestep, you get all on them. Now you sidestepping. You got to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be what people expect from you. And I kind of don't like to say this, but in politics, you got to be consistent all the time, because when you're not, everybody gonna pick it up, and they pick it up fast. Right. Just like in church. If you're in church and a pastor use the wrong verse, for example, or he used the wrong chapter of a story, the people gonna say, he missed something. They may not say something that day, but they're gonna say, Pastor, you was off a bit on that. You used the wrong you use the wrong chapter, you use the wrong verse. You meant to say blah blah blah, right?
Yeah. And there's certain people in the church that will like that. Certain people will hold them accountable. And, and I always feel like you should hold people accountable. I was looking at a message here from Facebook. Anyway, you should hold people accountable for what they say. I'm trying to take this off here. Well, anyway, for what they say, and the hardest thing when you talk about local politics, the hardest thing is to hold local politicians accountable, the ones you voted for or didn't vote for, because somehow locally they take it much more personal, because a lot of them, especially in a town like Portsmouth, everybody knows everybody, everybody's a friend, and you try to tell them, I'm gonna hold you accountable. I voted for you. I'm gonna support you. I'll defend you if you need defending, but I will hold you accountable if I don't appreciate your vote, or I don't think, the council is going in the right direction. And, and I see that. And some local politicians will appreciate that, and some take offense to it, man. And
they do.
And, and you try to tell them, and then some people will take offense to it. Or if you have a conversation with somebody that you might know as a Trumper, and they see you just talking to the person, y'all might be having a big difference of opinion, and they automatically link you with that person. See, I saw him talking to so-and-so. He must be supporting him. But, I'm never not going to talk to somebody. I'm never not going to speak to somebody. But that doesn't mean that I voted for him or I agree with him. And because I voted for you, that doesn't mean I'm not going to hold you accountable when I think that you might have gone the wrong way with that vote. I'm not a single issue voting kind of guy, because you might mess up on one issue, but you did 10 other things that were great. But I'm going to tell you about that one thing that I didn't feel like you did right.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
And if you take offense as that's a whole put down of you as a whole, I mean, what can I say about that?
That's your problem.
How could we be serving you, or you serve us? Right. How could you be serving us well if you're not listening to what we say? So that's one kind of downfall in local politics, when you try to hold people accountable, and it gets really crazy. But when you get older, like we are, sometimes I don't let that stuff sweat me now. It's not going to run my blood pressure up. I don't need that in my life right now. But, maybe 20 years ago, I might have got really upset. My blood pressure went up and everything like that. But, if that's not something that you can take, I feel like I have the right to say it, and I might not say it like some other people might say it, but you'll know that I kind of disagree with that particular policy or your vote. But you do it on a national scale. So, but one thing I can say about you, Lewis, I mean, you don't just talk off the cuff. You have done your homework, or you have been out there, and as many people you have talked to, and you have associated with people like Carl Snowden, and y'all have had disagreements. But that's how you really understand each other, understand why a person feels a certain way, by having those disagreements and having those conversations. Because the person might understand after you told them why you feel that way. They might understand why you feel that way, but still disagree with you. But that doesn't mean that you're all going to turn your nose up each other and walk away.
Yeah, that's right.
Mad. So that's why we want to, hopefully, bring back well, not hopefully, we're going to bring back the Portsmouth Coffee Talk and deal with a lot of different things, but mostly it's going to be a lot of politics involved and a lot of people, a lot of giving people information. Uh, I like when you do those little videos and you do it for Portsmouth Coffee Talk. I haven't always been able to figure out how to put it on my page, but I think I got it now. I have to download it from you. Like you'll send it to my message and I have to download it and then I can load it back up to
sometimes
the
like
YouTube
I'm in
channel.
town and I'm in there spontaneously. And I don't have time to warn you. Because sometimes I go to DC on how I feel when I wake up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like with the Supreme Court decision that day. And I know you're not available to do it live, but I sent it anyway because I hope that you can hold on to it so that when we do a show, or if you need some background on anything, you can always go back to the things that I sent. Because I sent you stuff from like I say, from the recent Supreme Court decisions when we had a herd of people out there. And when they had that situation at the reflecting pool, I sent you some stuff from reflecting pool.
Yeah.
It was completely ridiculous.
I saw that. And
it just shows you how foolish and ignorant the Trump people are and what they waste their time on. So I have most of that stuff. I still have most of this thing. And when I went to Overton Cemetery that day on my motorcycle, it's sort of like that. People don't know sometimes how many people will stop and come over and say, thank you for what you're doing. And they always say, I don't have the guts to do what you're doing, but I want to thank you. Now, if they're saying this at Overton Cemetery, which is considered sacred ground for veterans, and that on the last time I went, there was a Hispanic gentleman. I think I mentioned this to you. I know I sent the picture. He was in a low-riding vehicle, not being stereotypical, but he had a low-riding vehicle. And he was a groundskeeper at Arlington Cemetery, a legal immigrant. He pulled over immediately. And he came over and he said, brother, I'm so glad to see you out there doing what you're doing, because you don't know how many people appreciate that somebody's standing up to Trump. And he pulled over his vehicle. He saw that I was a ride a bike, motorcycle. And he said, man, you got to ride with us. I said, who's us?
It could be the Hells Angels.
I told him, I said, ain't riding with no bandoleros. I ain't riding with no bandoleros. But anyway, he said, no, I don't do that. But anyway, the point was is that I did that video because, there's a gentleman called Gunny Speaks Out, who's very, very vocal, a gentleman, a former politician, a Marine gunner sergeant, and who's in excellent physical condition for his age. And my bike had been sitting up in the garage for 2 years before he did that. And I always tell people I give him the full credit for getting me back out there on my motorcycle so that I can go and do my thing, continue to show my disgust of Donald Trump. But when I go to DC, whenever I go to DC on my motorcycle, most people would not believe the support that you get in DC. And like I tell people all the time, I'm always tripped out when I see somebody white coming up to me. I'm already have my guard up. And I'm always pleasant to tell people, I say, if you have any idea how many white folks come up to me and give me salutes, handshakes, hugs, very positive comments that always come from the people who I expected the least. When I say I expected the least, example of what happened yesterday, I was in the supermarket. I had my famous blue shirt on. And this white guy walking up to me, and he looked like the classic redneck cracker, beer belly, unshaven face, missing tooth, all that stuff. And I said, oh shit, I'm oh shucks. I say, we're going to have this thing. He came up to me and he said, man, you are so on point. He said, I am so glad to see you here with that shirt on and you all right. He said, you are putting it down. And I always say, and I always tell him, I say, you know what, I appreciate your comments and thank you very much. Because really, it tells you can't look at somebody sometimes and judge a book by its cover. Right. And that's what I have learned a lot. I mean, more than I even would expect. And people say, well, you're doing that in DC. DC is Chocolate City, blah, blah, blah. But DC is not Chocolate City anymore. I'm telling you that right now.
Not like it was. No.
Chocolate City, they're lying. Are they just being arrogant? DC is no longer Chocolate City. But I go to redneck areas also on my motorcycle. And just for the hell of it. And I get the same positive comments. And I'm not saying I don't get some middle fingers, because I do, but people don't come up in my face like that, except for that fool that I sent the video about.
Yeah, but I saw that. I saw that, and he backed down because of what you had. But because you never should go in somebody's face like that, because you don't know what people got, especially when you get a certain age. Say, I'm not going to waste my time trying to fight somebody 20 years younger than me. But then I saw people come up to you after that. And one other thing is that policeman that came up and tried to get between y'all, he was more at that guy because you said he knew you from just being out there exercising your constitutional right to protest or to say, and I saw another guy walk up to you and said, and like you said, a lot of these people, they say, I wouldn't have the nerve to do that. Or if I did it, I might lose my job or something like that. But, but I'm glad somebody's out here doing it. I'm glad you're doing it. And, that's what it takes. You have certain people that will be out there on the front lines. Disconnected. Be out there on the front lines and speak for a lot of people.
Well, let me tell you another story about that day.
Bluetooth connected.
The part that aired was not. We was out there an hour before then, and the thing that you didn't see on that one was because that guy had left. I had drove up there with a white guy who does the same thing that I do. He has the same flag that I do, and we met at what we call the headquarters, the tent, because there's a 24/7 tent and outside of the Canadian embassy. That we called it is a group called Flare, and they're one of the groups that's been actively protesting 24/7 ever since Trump returned to office, and we call it the tent, and that's where people go to find out what's going on. So anyway, I met this white guy because I saw him on video the day before. I didn't know him at all. I didn't know him from Adam, but I saw him on YouTube riding through DC doing everything that I do, everything that the gunny does. And I said, I hope I meet this guy. So I went to DC the next day, not expecting to see him, but I went to the tent first, because when you go to the tent, you go there to find out if there are any demonstrations today, is there any court hearings today, is there any opportunities to run into certain elected officials. They seem to always have that information. So I always go there first. And then I saw the white guy there that I had just saw on video 24 hours before. And he said, man, we got to ride through DC. And that's exactly what we did. So we rolled around DC for a minute, and then we parked in front of the White House. But he had to leave because the sun was getting to him. So the video that people saw was after he had left. But before he left, this old white woman came up to him. She was every bit of 84 years old. And she was like evil. I mean, evil. And the young white guy, he was only like 26, 27 years old. He sat there on his bike. He folded his hands like this. And he was trying to be as patient as he could. And this woman, after 40 minutes, 40 minutes now of her being completely racist, evil. She didn't say nothing to me. She was just talking to him. He just then at the last moment, I said, look at man, don't engage these people. I say, don't engage them. I say, this woman been in your face for 40 minutes, and I see you getting ready to blow your top, right? And he blew his top, and nobody that was not on the video. But it was because this woman, I mean, she was only like 3 feet, 4 feet tall, and I'm not joking. She was a short, old, wrinkly, humped over white woman, maybe weigh 84 pounds top. But I have never heard so much crap come out of a woman's mouth in my life that old. And,
from the old school.
And he was a gentleman. He was being as patient as possible. And then she said something to him when I had my back turned. It just blew it. And then he came up to me. He said, man, I got to go. He said, I think the sun is getting to me. And so he pulled off. But and then, like I said, so the thing that happened with me and that tall fellow was after the fact, you know. But
what was he actually? What was he actually saying? You know, he was. Well, first of all, what were you saying? I guess you were talking against something specific, or Trump in general.
Well, like I tell people all the time, they don't believe it because it's me. I never say anything to anybody when I go to DC. If you don't say nothing to me, I don't say nothing to you. My wife was with me the day they had the first week of the Trump BS thing that he had to America, what do you call it, Freedom 250. We was there. We saw the fact there was nobody at this event, and some guy, a couple walked up behind us, and he made an off-the-cuff statement, and he regretted making that off-the-cuff statement to me. And I followed him all the way to the gate where you had to pay to get in to see that crap that Trump put up. But I didn't say nothing to him. He said something to me. He regretted it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing that happened in front of the White House. I didn't say nothing to that guy. He came up and he started talking stuff. He started talking a lot of stuff that was not on the video. And so then I always tell people, I don't take a lot of stuff. I don't take nothing, especially I don't take nothing from no white people. But I don't start anything. I don't start anything. I don't walk up to anybody. I don't start no conversations. And that's what the cops who work the beat. See, these guys are regular. The bikers, the guys who does the biking, and the guys who do the walking. See, if you go to the White House, you'll see walkers and you'll see guys on the bike. And of course, they got guys in the cars. They basically just go in a circle like this all the time. Mm-hmm. And they get to know who the regular people are. And the regular people like myself, they know they're not going to have no trouble out of us because we're not there to start no stuff. So, and then you're a catalog. Believe it or not, you are a catalog. I have a friend of mine that worked for the Secret Service. He tell me, he have enlightened me on a lot of stuff. And I know they catalog because, when I worked at NSA, we had to work closer with those people. So I know exactly what they do. So when you see somebody, a biker or the walkers or the guys who ride around in the car, they wave at you. Mm-hmm. They know who you are. And so they know who's going to start stuff and who's not. Like sometimes a more militant version of me may show up and they know these people are not normal. They know they're not regular. They know that they're there to start stuff, right? And then they get right around those people just like that. They'll show up just like that because they know they're not normal. They're not the normal people. But the people like myself and some of the other folks that I want to bring on the show one day, they'll all tell you the same thing that I'll tell you. If you conduct yourself a certain way and you just dare to protest like we are authorized to do as American citizens, they won't mess with you. They will not mess with you. I've never had any one of them mess with me at all. The biggest mistake I made was when I went to the Supreme Court with my gun that day outside of the Supreme Court, and I blame my wife for that. She's in there because I said, girl, we can't go there. She said, I want to go to the rest of the march. We had a really great march that day, but I knew because you can't take a gun in that area, right? And I had my gun with me, and I was so ecstatic and happy about what was going on when we got to the Supreme Court. I like jumped up and, and my shirt came up over my gun, and that's when they saw it. But the funny thing about that is that even that day, when they found out, that I worked at NSA and I had this record, perfect record. Every time that I've been back to the Supreme Court since then, there's always an officer who come up there and remember that particular day and remember how I conducted myself. I ain't cuss nobody out. I ain't talking about nobody's mother. And they appreciate that. And they come up there and say, "Hey, Mr. Bracy, how you doing? You got your gun with you today?" And we laugh and everything. And that's a thing that you find out. And the other people tell you the same thing. They especially the ones who really understand the right to protest. And a lot of the officers, especially the Capitol Police, do not get the respect that they do. And some of the Secret Service officers who go around the White House, they have to conduct themselves a very, very particular way because they have been watched all the time too. And but some of these people, where they're coming from, because they give you a wink, or they'll do a under the closed thumbs up or something like that, where only you can see it. Mm-hmm. And they give you a thumbs up when they think nobody is looking. That's when you're working with the right kind of officers. But I want to say this: you see this on the Secret Service Police, you see it on the Capitol Police, and you see it on the Metropolitan Police. And I like to say this before if you throw anything else out, is that the military people who are from the different parts of this country, who all of them from red states, by the way, they don't want to be there. They'll tell you that in a heartbeat. They don't want to be there. But I'm gonna tell you the difference between when they first started and now. When they first started, they thought they were gonna be there maybe a couple of days, a couple of weeks. So they was following along. They weren't engaging with people and none of that stuff. But some of these people have been out there almost a year now, off their regular job from these various red states that Trump has sent people on. They fed up. So now when I would ride through and walk through DC with my flag and my blue shirt on, they wouldn't even give you hardly a look. Now, when I ride through DC on my bike or when I'm walking, the brothers and the sisters, they don't even hesitate. They throw a power sign in the air. They give you a thumbs up. They'll do this, thank you, like this, because they can't do it. But the difference between when they first started and now, especially the black officers, but white ones do it too. The brothers and the sisters in the military that has been there for months and months and months, they sweating their butts off. I've seen some of them fall out, because if you understand how the military, if the president say he's going to be somewhere at 6 o'clock in the evening, you there 6 o'clock in the morning. A lot of people don't know that, don't understand that. You there 6 o'clock in the morning. So you there 6 o'clock into the morning until he done left. And so
they done been there all day
time in that weather, and they may bring you some water and stuff like that, but that gets on the people nerves, and they sweaty, they tired, they've been away from their families, they've been away from their jobs, and after a couple of weeks, they fed up. Those people are fed up with it, because when I went to the reflecting pool the last time, I was at the reflecting pool the day before the Olympic guy pulled up that piece of carpet, right? I was there the day before. I could have done the same thing. The carpet was everywhere. I just didn't even think about it. It was no issue at the time. People were pulling that stuff out and won't nobody saying anything. But then when they decided they want to make an issue out of it, then it became an issue. But that stuff was floating up almost 2 or 3 days after they put the thing down. And the soldiers that's walking around that thing, they've been walking around that thing for months, they get to know you too. And when they see you, they just they're so happy to see you, they don't know what to do. So I'm just saying all that to tell people, don't believe none of the stuff that you seeing on legacy media. I keep telling people, and this is one of the things that I'm most disgusted about with Maryland politicians and most politicians. Most of those people have not even came to DC one day to see what's going on in DC. So I just wanted to say all that, get people to get an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Angelia Edwards. She says Cedar Grove and Chesapeake, and she says she saw the Albuda Ewer interview. Oh yeah, that was back in the day. Well, not in the day, but we had her on, and she did an interview for us, and we had some other local broadcasters on. So shout out to you. Thanks for watching. And what I want to do, we want to have some kind of presence every Monday night, and like I said, we have some special. Once we get it together, some special editions where it might be, when we have those panels, the panel show's always going to have to be at least 2 hours, because if you have more than 5 people, you have to give everybody a chance to contribute or to participate in the conversation. And something else I wanted to do, politics, but every once in a while I wanted us to, just like you bought that book, Burning Down Master's House, every once in a while I wanted us to pick a book, and maybe every 3 months or so have a book. And that's something to sort of relieve the tension of all the political stuff we'll be talking about. And one of the things I want to do when we do talk politics, I want a lot of our conversation to be solution based. We don't have to have all the answers, but most of the conversation, at least, if you bring up something that you dislike, at least what would you do about it? So what are you going to do about it? Just like nobody can say that to you, because you out there with your boots on the ground, letting your voice be heard directly to people that needs to hear it. And, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody, you don't have to run for office. You don't have to have a show like this. You don't have to have boots on the ground, but everybody can contribute somehow, even with your idea of saying, okay, if I was there, this is what I would do. And you never know what you might do, might pick up, might be the idea. Somebody might be watching and say, wow, that's a good idea. But, we just don't want to have shows where we just complaining and fussing about what we don't like about what's going on, without having, some people having some solutions, or what would you do? What would you do about it if you were in charge of that? So that's one of the main things that I would like to see. And plus, we want to have it open for people that watch. If you have suggestions about a particular show you might want to see, we're going to save the human interest shows for my other platform, what was shown, and we do a lot of that there, where we focus on people that have recovered from heart transplants, or double mastectomy, breast cancer, and things like that. So that's what we cover over there. But we want to kind of stay political and have that book club too, because I think it's important that people read. And excuse me, it's one of the ways where you can relieve some of that tension. I always tell people, not the tension of politics, but everyday life. Sometimes you need to just find a space and just sit down, turn off everything, and you don't have to sit down and read the whole book, but just read a few pages. And sometimes a book can take you anywhere you want to go. You don't have to go there physically. You just read that book, and you can end up in Africa somewhere. Or if it's a fiction book, you can end up on the plantation, where this book that you got from Clay Kane lately, Burn Down Master's House. Or
yes,
we could talk about this book here, which is
You remember I mentioned to the people at the bookstore, yes, that we brought him into Annapolis last year. He spoke at one of our events, and,
Clay,
I have
Clay
that
Kane?
book. I have 2 of his books.
Clay
And,
Kane?
And like I said, he was a keynote speaker at an event we had in Annapolis, and so I love your idea about the having a conversation about a book. A few book, but you know what I would love to do? I would love it if we could do that. If you could be at the bookstore and you broadcast it from the bookstore itself.
Yeah, well, he actually, the bookstore you went in, he actually does that.
That would be great.
I did a few of those with him, with some guys, and a lot of people don't think, you see guys sitting around discussing a book. And people don't realize, brothers, we sit down, we read books and we have intellectual conversations about. And he also has a series where he gets a bunch of guys together, and it's like barbershop talk.
Yeah.
And whatever comes up, and in a barbershop, brothers talk about anything.
That's
anything can come up. And because I asked him, I said, did y'all even talk? He said, politics didn't even come up. We talked about so many other things that politics came up, and that was a very small part of the conversation. And if you can sit down and listen to, they think brothers sit down and all they do is talk about women and their conquerors and what they have done and what they can do, or fights they've been in and all that. But brothers, if you go in a barbershop and sit down and listen to some of those brothers, some of them, you probably could solve some of the world problems by listening to some of the things the guys. You remember when we were little and we used to go to the barbershop and just sit there amazed at some of the conversations those guys would be talking about?
Just listen. That's all you can do is listen.
Just listen. I mean, he said, man, wow, this guy run for something, man. He know, and some of those guys really know what they're talking about. They really keep up with it, so that's why I say you don't have to run for office. You can be knowledgeable and keeping up with things and just talk to somebody that's not. So when they go to the polls to vote, they will be an informed voter, because not everybody has time to keep up with that stuff.
They don't.
You work, you got 2 jobs, you got children, and a lot of people depend on, but I don't want people to solely depend on different groups or somebody to so you can rubber stamp whoever they support. You still should do some of your homework, some of your vetting, or have somebody you really trust that you think or believe feels like you feel, that you can talk to, and they can tell you what's going on and who might be the best person to vote for. The main thing is getting out there and voting, but being informed as well is another thing.
The point that you bring it up right there is what when you read the stuff, when I send you stuff, a lot of times I say, don't believe a word that I say. Do your own research.
Right.
I have a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, Raymond Coleman. I'm gonna talk about him on the air because I'm mad at him because he hadn't came on the show yet. So yeah, Raymond, I'm talking about you. Yes, I'm talking about you, and because he's a great brother, but I don't know what his issues been. But anyway, the point is, that point that you just brought up right there is that whenever I say do your own research, you know what he does? He goes right online and he'll send me almost immediate videotapes or the statements that certain people have made, because I say, I'm not going to do the work for you. You do it yourself. But he makes it easy for me, and he makes it easy for people who are lazy not to do their own research, so that you have it right there. He said, Bracy just said it. I'm going to send it to him right now so he can send it to other people. And I take advantage of it because I'm not going to do your research for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I always say. Even my own family members, I always say, don't believe a word that I say. Do your own research, because if you do your own research, you get a better feel for things. You get a better understanding of this thing. Like, I can't read this book for you, Burn Down Master's House. I could tell you my view of it.
Yeah.
But
that's why it's good to discuss it.
Yeah.
Because, 3 people might read a book and get totally different.
That's right.
Something different from the book,
or
they might see something that you missed. So I didn't see it that way.
We can read the exact same book, exact same pages, but someone would interpret it totally different. And it's a better interpretation that you have had.
Right.
And that's what's great about
having that discussion
and your research.
Yeah.
Because you can have a whole different input that could be a better perspective that can open your mind wider. And that's why I love the idea that you gave about doing that, because I just think that is so great, especially if we can have men doing the discussion, because it's not enough of us out there doing that. And book discussion is nothing new. I know you did it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time, but not everybody knows. Some people will be surprised at a bunch of black men sitting around talking about a book they read.
Me and Carl Snowden used to go to Baltimore and different other places, and we'd be the only men there discussing a book on a particular issue, right? Mm-hmm. And that always bothered me, especially when we would go to Baltimore, and this was like 40 years ago. 40 years ago, we were doing that. But I always tell people, you heard it many times. If you want to keep something from our people, put it between a book.
Between a book.
If you want to hide your money, put it between a book. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. We know it's true. Come on, we got to be honest to what
I heard a comedian say that. If you want, you want to hide something from, and he just said that you want to hide something from black folks, put it in a book,
They don't say,
that was a funny joke, but it was just a joke because a lot of brothers read.
But Richard Pryor said he used the N-word. I've never in my life have used the N-word. My entire life. But but it really say you want to have something from an N-word, put it between a book.
Yeah, put it between a book. But but that's why I like having the fact of us having a book reading every so often on Portsmouth Coffee Talk to let people know, brothers, we do read and we talk about what we read. It's not all sports and stuff like that. And we get a kick out of sports now, because most of us played something.
We need to do a book of the month thing.
Yeah, book of the month and pick a book and gives each of us a chance to read it and just have a discussion about it. And
that's right.
On air on one of our shows, and it'd be a special book of the month. Once a month, we or however we spread it out, because sometimes people are busy, and sometimes it takes some people a little longer to get through a book. But the book doesn't have to be like War and Peace. That book War and Peace, how thick that book was. It take about a year to read that thing.
1,000 and so pages.
By the time you finish the book, you forgot what you read.
Man, I read that thing the first time because people talked about it so much because it was like the so-called intellectual thing to do.
Yeah.
And after I read it, I say, I can't say what I said on air, but I say, I want that time that I dedicated to that book. I want my life back.
I want that time back.
I want that time back.
I didn't even, I saw the time I saw how thick that book was. I said, no in the world, I'm going to concentrate on this, especially with what I was doing at the time in the 70s.
Yeah.
I didn't have no concentration, I probably would have been asleep or looking for something to eat. So
look here, before we leave, because I'm looking up at the clock, I got to ask you this, because I told you I'm not the tech guy, but the thing that you sent with Big Red and some of the other people from the class, what the heck is a clip? You said it was $2 a clip. That was so cool. But what's a clip?
A clip is just, just like after this show, I'll make some clips of specific things we said. But that clip, that was an AI clip. And, I'm just getting used to that too. And I take a still picture because I got a still picture that I took in my basketball Narcan uniform. And I asked AI, show me dunking the ball. And I'll send you that clip too. And it actually it's actually in our yearbook, and was when I was on the JV squad, they had a picture of each of us individually dribbling or shooting or something like that. So they had me dribbling. So in the book, I think it's the 70 book. That's when I was on JV, 1970. And they had me in there. So I got that picture and I told AI, hey, can you show me dunking? And that's right, Angela. It was Go Greyhounds. Can you show me dunking? And that bad boy had me dunking the ball. Now, back in the day, I could dunk, but we couldn't dunk in a game during those years in the 70s. So I used to dunk in practice, and the coach used to like to, see me dunking because it got everybody fired up, and guys would try to do it, and but it would get everybody fired up in practice because dunking back in the 70s, who was doing it? Dr. J, and they won't but if you could dunk back there in those days, but we just couldn't do it. You could do it in a warm up.
Well, you couldn't do it.
But you couldn't do it during the game. It would be a technical foul, and you know why that was? Because they had stopped dunking in college because of Lou Alcindor.
Yes.
When he came into college, he was 7'2". They outlawed dunking because they know he would have. That was unfair, So the whole time he was at. That's why he established that sky hook.
Yes. Also,
because they stopped him from dunking because he could just stand there and dunk, and who could stop him? So he said, "Okay, I can't dunk. I'll develop this. Let's see if somebody can stop this." Nobody could stop that.
Nobody could stop the sky hook. But they did it also, especially in high school and some colleges, because it was intimidating white people.
Yeah, Angela Edwards asked how tall am I? I'm 6'5".
Dunks in a row.
Yeah.
That was intimidating, and they were trying to penalize people for doing it, even in practice. If you recall closely, they didn't even like us doing it. And I ain't gonna say us because I couldn't dunk either, but I know some of the brothers could. But that's a fact. They was trying to penalize black teams for coming out there when they were doing their layup drills and stuff and dunking the ball. I don't know how far they went, but I do know it was an issue. Because it was intimidating to the white.
It's intimidating to the whole starting five dunking. I mean, and that's and to dunk, that's like that's a violent move. You don't just dunk soft.
No, you
when you dunk, you throw it down. And that's
you
like
throw it down. There ain't no need to throw it if you ain't gonna throw it down.
Yeah, and if somebody try to block it and their hand get caught in between the rim and that dunk, you got a broken hand there. But yeah, so I'm gonna send you that right after the show, man. And AI, we'll have a conversation about that one on one of these shows because it's amazing and scary at the same time.
Okay.
And one of the things that Senator Lucas, I'll say this, and we'll start wrap. One of the things Senator Lucas is trying to do here in Virginia, all these data centers that's coming up that's supposed to support AI. A lot of the states want them to come in, so they're offering them to come in and pay no taxes, and that's just part of it. The resources that those data centers need in order to operate. We won't know than 10 years down the road how dangerous it might be for the environment.
I tell you what, I think they should let all data centers in America be everywhere as long as they say it's welfare to the rich. Say data centers is welfare to the rich, and then see how many of them want to do it there. They all asking for tax breaks. They're asking for tax breaks now. They don't even want to pay taxes on the profit they're going to make from the AI issues. They want it free. And you know why? Because of what we have in the White House. That's why. They don't want to pay nothing, but they want all the profits.
All the profits and all the benefits.
To Iran, or Iraq, or anywhere else we in conflict. They don't want to send none of their sons and daughters.
Yeah, and
Why
I think
Aaron is not in the military.
I think one of the issues too, we don't know the environmental effects right now, and probably the locations. You know, they're trying to put one near Fitz University.
Mm-hmm.
The locations where they're putting them could be environmentally unsafe down the road. Just like years ago when all the train tracks ran through black neighborhoods, the city dump. You remember? I tell people this, and they don't believe this. The city dump was over there by IC Norcom, and every summer in Truxton we smelled trash to the point we got used to it. I mean, what's that smell? Oh, that's the soap factory over there.
Yeah,
and that was the trash dump where you could just go over there and dump your trash.
Yes, the slaughterhouse. That's what they put it all on the slaughterhouse, but it was also burning coal.
Yeah.
It was also
and all that stuff, you know, and we during the summer running around breathing all that stuff, and you know, but it was a way of life for us, you know.
Don't get me
remember
started.
That smell though. we just knew the smell every summer, you know, it's hot.
Yeah.
And we out there playing it. And
again, when you brought that up about them people bringing all them AI stations in and they want to do all that stuff, is an issue here too. It's an issue here too.
It's issue all over.
Yeah.
And
you know,
but
the shame
the
of
big issue is why should they come in and not get incentives for not paying taxes?
Yes, that's the shame of it.
On that type of business.
All the profit, and they don't want to pay any taxes on it. All the profit, no taxes.
And you see the news, right? We keep bringing up stuff, but you see the news, like Louise Lucas, she's the one fighting that, but now the FBI investigating her. They tapping her phone, you know.
Yeah. We got an FBI, right? With Cash Patel. Now I'm not going to talk about the man's eyes because you know that's not going to do that. But
they killing him on social media.
They can't. I'd rather have Bonnie Fife. I mean, the real TV Bonnie Fife. I would trust him more as an FBI director than Cash Patel or anybody else under him. It's the same thing with the Department of Justice, right? I would rather have Otis from Andy Murray.
The one that put himself in jail.
Otis, who put himself in jail, right? I would rather have Otis as the Attorney General of the United States of America than any of those people that Donald Trump have had in. He got Charles Branch and that blonde bimbo who they fired. At least Otis was smart enough to put his own butt in jail.
Yeah. And I told somebody at the end of Andy Griffin, Otis was the mayor. He became the mayor or something like that before it went off. But anyway,
he stopped drinking and became smart.
And became the mayor. So he's a responsible guy. You say, I know I'm drunk. Let me put myself in jail before I hurt somebody.
And that's really smart if you think about it. That's a smart thing to do. Look,
he won't think about himself. He's thinking about other people. I might hurt somebody out here.
Yeah. If you're driving, what do? You give the keys to somebody, right?
Yeah.
That's a smart thing to do. If you are dumb and know you're dumb and know you're going to do something stupid, especially if you've been drinking, and then you say, well, I'm high now. Let me go ahead and lock myself away. And I wake up in the morning when I'm sober.
Yeah.
That way I know I ain't hurt nobody.
Yeah.
That is far more intelligent than anything that we have heard.
Won't hurt nobody in my family and not remember what I did and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You wake up and say, I can't believe you did that. Well, I was in jail.
Yeah.
I didn't do. Anyway, thanks for everybody for watching and stay tuned for this return of Portsmouth Coffee Talk, the Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast. And you're going to see Lewis very much involved in what we recreate here. And we're going to always pay homage to the original host. Thomas the Colonel Chapman and Leah Drake Stith, and I'm sure they'll be coming on from time to time. And it's gonna all you can always see that coffee cup with all three of us, the original people, present in pictures about Portsmouth Coffee Talk and all that. So you're never gonna forget. You never forget the people that start out with you, that start and made those sacrifices early in the morning, every morning, and Leah would have to sign off and go to work, and the colonel might have had something to do, and I might have had something to do, but we stuck with it for over 5 years and doing it, and had some great guests. So go on the channel and look at some of those past videos that we have. Some of them about politics from past, but a lot of stuff we did is relevant today, that you can get something out of it. So, but hang in there with us as we move forward with Portsmouth Coffee Talk and doing some things. The political scene is back, because they're giving us something every day to talk about. And like we said earlier, solution-based conversations. We're going to have more panel discussions with people throughout as far away as we can get them, because when you have people in different states and coming together, you find out how much you have in common. We're going to always have the national political scene in common, but even locally, you share information to each other and find out, wow, y'all going through that same thing locally in your city or in your state. And it's always good to share that information, and we can learn from each other as well. And also share information that might be hopeful to people, and give them enough information to be informed voters. That's one of the main missions of Portsmouth Coffee Talk, to make sure people are informed enough, so when they have that opportunity to vote, to make a change for those things that they don't like, what they see that's going on, they won't sit home on their ass, and they'll get out there and vote. That's right. I said that. So, certain things you can say. You just didn't expect that to come from me, but, I talk that way too. So.
I'm very disappointed in the vote that was done locally here in this state and in my county. That's a whole nother subject, but we need to talk about that. And not only here, but in other parts of the country that had the off-year elections. Some of the turnouts was just pure horrible. In my county, they say it was less than 20%. Less than 20%
see, that
showed up.
That doesn't make sense. Locally here in the city, when you get people elected, you got almost 70,000 people registered to vote, and 15,000 votes put somebody in office.
That's ridiculous.
Now, once you're in office, I'm gonna respect that position that you have, because that's the Democratic way to put you in there. But
the mayor
15,000, 20% of those people put you in office, but you still have to represent the whole city. But I'm just saying that's but you got 80% of the people complaining.
Yes,
and just 20% of them voting.
Let me say this real quick. In the recent election locally in Annapolis, the mayor was elected with less than 1,600 votes. 1,600 votes.
Well, 1,600 between him and the next person.
American congressman or congresswoman ran against him. Right? He was he was known, but he was not where she was at. Right? She'd been on the council for 12 years and had done a good job. And she got like 700 votes. So in one section in Annapolis alone, in one section, they have over 15,000 people on the books registered to vote in one section. Okay. Now, but the mayor, the current mayor of the city of Annapolis, won his seat with less than 1,600 votes. And the black woman who was running against him got 700 votes. And then as soon as this mayor came in, he did what a few white guys wanted him to do, because they had a black police chief in Annapolis City, right? But the white boys didn't like what the black chief was doing. So they promised the mayor that if he get rid of him, he get all the votes from all the white police officers and blah, blah, blah. And so what happened? The white mayor won. 2 weeks later, the black chief was out of office. My buddy Carl, one of the things we argued about, had all the black folks get mad, come up there, show up at this big convention hall and everything, get mad. And they even invited the mayor, the new mayor, asked him why he did it, right? I ain't gonna get into it because it take too much time. But the point I'm getting to, I was the only one who stood up and said what needed to be said. And they got mad at me. Did I care? Hell no, because I say the truth, all right? They don't like it when you speak the truth. Even some of our own people don't like it when you speak the truth. But the truth of the matter is, I said, I don't know why y'all here for now. Y'all weren't here when it was time to vote for the guy. Did you bring your nieces? Did you bring your nephews? Did you bring your cousins? Did you bring your aunt? I say you talking about a thing with less than 2,000 people showed up in one area. In this county, in my county, black people could have owned everything, if 6,000 people had showed up to vote. And 6,000. In my community alone, there's 6,000 registered to vote where I live at. And
that's not a lot of people. That's,
they sat on their ass. They didn't vote. They didn't talk. And you know, I won my thing about these ministers. These ministers aren't worth a damn. They're not worth a damn.
Well, that's another story. We'll get on that too.
My boy, my boy Tillette ran. I was all behind Tillette.
Mm-hmm.
They have what they have called clusters. That's when the various ministers go to various churches during the middle of the week to preach. Okay, we have been to these clusters, and I don't go no more because they're not worth a damn. At these clusters alone, you have 3,000 people at these clusters that show up to hear somebody preach. Okay, the United Black Clergy in Anne Arundel County alone could have put all the officers in Anne Arundel County that would have been black. We would have owned everything from top to bottom, if 6,000 of us had just showed up to vote. And I live in a neighborhood where there's 6,000 black people. So there's something wrong. Now, even then it's bad because you're talking about only 6,000 people showing up in a place that got over 120, 30,000 registered voters. And you could have won everything from the governor's office on down to the school board representative. Would have been black. 6,000 people needed to show up. 20,000 of them are in black churches.
Yeah.
20,000 of them are in black churches. So when I tell people, and they get mad, and I don't give a damn about these United Black Clergy. I don't care what state you're in. You ain't doing nothing. And you can't prove you've done nothing. And they didn't prove they did nothing right here in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and in Annapolis City. If anybody want to get mad, you call somebody, you tell them to call me and see if I get my phone, see if my phone will ring. They don't have the nerve.
Yeah. If you're mad, make sure you call Lewis Bracy and tell him
the nerve to do it.
And hold him accountable. But
they know they get cussed out.
And the people not voting, I don't know what to do about that, but keep on trying to get people out, or keep on giving them information, or calling them out. Besides going to the house and pulling them out the house, it's not a whole lot we can do, but try to. And some of the people that don't go out, some of the policies are actually hurting them, but they complain but don't vote. But anyway, we're gonna cover that too. We're gonna get with that too. We have different subjects, but we're gonna continue on, and we're gonna have until we we get all these things that we talked about, what we want to do, we're going to have some kind of presence every Monday or every Monday evening at 7. Even if we just showing a past video, we're going to make sure Coffee Talk is going to be on at 7 on Monday nights, and we might change to a different night, but for the time being, you're going to be able to see Portsmouth Coffee Talk somewhere. I probably still do my City Talk with Slim under Portsmouth Coffee Talk in the mornings, because it seems like some of those candidates prefer the mornings because they have busy days now, but I probably still do them in the mornings. Yeah.
You got to get them early.
Yeah. Because at night, during the campaign season, they're somewhere every night. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. And I want a special shout out to Angela Edwards, who has been here commenting with us. And Angie, do you still live in Portsmouth? Chesapeake. You started out saying you from Cedar Grove, and Chesapeake. You live there. Well, I don't want to give. Well, you put it up here. I guess I don't want to give you. But is that where you grew up, or that where you live now? Because you also said go Greyhound, so I'm assuming you're a Greyhound, or either you're a Western Branch Bruin. Which is it? If you're still watching, let me see. Okay, she might not be still on, but anyway, next time let us know that. Yeah, I see the last comment you made. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you. Thank you, Lewis. Take care. Excuse me, everybody. Lewis, and tell your lovely wife we said hello, and thank you for sparing you tonight to come on with us.
Okay.
And we'll see you all next time from the Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast.
Thanks, James.
Take care.
Have a good night.
You too, buddy.
All right.
Be our guest on the Portsmouth